Do me a favor, please welcome up my guest today, the fabulous Mr. Gary Lewis.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir. So this is the TV show, like we told you yesterday. It's a TV show. On the count of three, the crowd goes wild, and we start the TV show. Here we go. 1, 2. All right. Good afternoon, friends and family here live in the studio audience, and those of you watching back in your rooms. I'm Jason, your crew host, whatever it is. English is my first language. Thank you for tuning in here, and thank you for joining us. These will be going on all week for you, and at the end of each live version, we'll pop them on your televisions for about 20 hours or 24 hours or so until the next one takes place. So if you're catching this right now, each day this will follow, the All Access will follow on TV. I am blessed to be sitting next to another musical legend, a man who is a prodigy of entertainment legend as well, a man who knows entertainment inside and out, because he's been in it for how many years? You've been doing this?
60.
60 years. 60 years this man has been on top of the game. Do me a favor, nice and loud. Give it up for Gary Lewis.
Oh, no, please.
First and foremost, thank you for being on the cruise.
Oh, my pleasure.
Love
you
having
kidding?
you.
I love it.
Love having you, and thank you for agreeing to come up and chat with me.
Sure.
Let's start right off the bat, just in case someone's been under a rock for 60 some odd years. You have an incredible career, but let's talk briefly, because this interview is about you, not your dad, but you do come from a legend as well, the king of comedy.
Sure.
Your dad is, of course,
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, just in case you didn't know.
Not Jerry Lee Lewis.
Not Jerry Lee Lewis. Which is frequently, I'm sure you get that a lot, the Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah.
When you were just a wee lad, when did you realize music was something you wanted to do?
Well, I didn't realize it until I was 19 years old.
Oh.
But my mother was...
she was a star.
A band singer with the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra in the 40s. And she sang on stage up until she was 8 months pregnant with me. And I know that's where I got my music. You know, it certainly wasn't from my dad. Yeah. You know, I mean, he's a great comedian and stuff, but music just kind of eluded him, you know.
And that's fair. Your mom was the driving force in a lot of ways.
She
Is that
was
correct?
the total driving force, yeah. Because when I started up the original Playboys in college in 1963, and I formed up, you know, the band from classmates in school. And I came to my mom and I said, "Mom, you think you could get us some equipment and a PA and a place to rehearse and all that?" She says, "Anything else?" So she did. But she said, "Don't tell your dad anything about this." Because if
we're gonna swap your mic out. That one's breaking up for
if
some
the
reason.
project fails, I have to come up with an excuse as to where this money went. So don't tell your dad. He didn't know I had a band until Diamond Ring was #1.
It's a hell of a surprise. Hey, Dad,
Yeah.
guess what? Yeah.
That's right. She said, "Now you can tell him."
Was not telling him just that he wasn't going to support it, or what? What's the decision to hold
well,
back?
I said, "Well, Mom, do you think he might hear it on the radio or something like that?" My mom said, "No chance. He won't be listening to those stations." So, you know.
And fair enough.
Yeah.
And you started as a drummer.
I did.
You were a drummer.
I was the original drummer for the band. And then I started getting a lot of complaints from people saying, "We can't see you." You know, all the cymbals in front of me, and I was way back on the stage, and that was true. Plus, I had too much energy to sit all show, you know. So I came up, started playing guitar. I could see the fans. I could play to them, see them smiling sometimes.
Hopefully, yeah.
And so that's what I did most of my career.
And Snuff Garrett, the producer who really kind of helped push you guys forward.
Right.
He was the one that pushed you to be a lead man, correct? Did
Yeah.
he pushed you out from behind the drums? Because vocals, and please correct me if I'm wrong, vocals weren't your strongest suit at that point.
No. When I first started the band, my guitar player, a guy named Dave Walker, did all the singing. I was just the drummer. And so my producer from Liberty Records was out at Disneyland when we were playing there. And he came backstage and gave me his card and said, I'd like to talk to you about doing some recording. Now, isn't that the way everybody wishes it would happen? You know, and that's exactly what happened. I went there and he played a bunch of demos for me that he thought would be good for me. When he got to Diamond Ring, I just kind of went, ooh. Yes, I want that one. And we did Diamond Ring and went to #1 in the country. Yeah.
And you guys, I mean, you can applaud that. Diamond Ring was monstrous. You guys had a string of top hits, though, and I'm going to read this because I want this to be very clear.
Okay.
You were the only act in the 60s there that the first 7 Hot 100 releases charted other than Love and Spoonful.
Love and Spoonful and myself were the only groups that their first 7 singles went top 10.
That's amazing. That's a testament.
That is an amazing thing. And I asked, I said, well, didn't the Beatles do that? They said, no, they didn't do that. So I'm honored.
I mean, any time anyone is better than the Beatles at anything, it should be, it should be honored. Yeah, it should be honored. So how did the name The Playboys get attached to Gary Lewis?
There's really no interesting story to that.
Right.
A couple of the guys were late to rehearsal, and I said, "Where have you Playboys been?"
And that was it. And that's how it happened.
That was it. I said, "Well, that sounds pretty good. Okay." And that was that.
Those are the stories that I love the most. It's not, it's not, 75 hours of research and 3 production teams and a marketing and advertising squad.
Right.
I was blessed enough, and forgive me to take a moment, I was blessed enough to be interviewing the Jackson 5. Not all of them, obviously, but what are now the Jacksons. And I asked them how they got the name. And they were performing at an old folks home. And when they were just little guys, and they were in there, and a woman walked up as they finished, and she said, well, what's your names? And they said, well, we just perform. We don't have a name. She goes, well, what's your last name? They said, well, we're the Jacksons. He goes, well, how many of you are there? She goes, well, there's 5 of us. She goes, well, just call yourself the Jackson 5.
There you go.
That was a little tiny 80-year-old woman at a retirement. I mean, those are how that happened. It's amazing how that happens.
I know.
Couple of guys walk in late, you call them playboys trying to be a smart aleck, and then it sticks. And then
it did.
Well, did Hugh Hefner have any comment on that out of curiosity?
Hugh Hefner?
Yeah.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he sued me. But the case went to court, and the judge said to the Hugh Hefner attorney, there is no copyright on the English language. Case dismissed. Boom.
There we go.
And then he told me, he said, just don't ever put out a magazine called Playboy.
Yeah. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I heard this, and I'm prepared to be told I'm wrong. Did you have Buddy Rich tutor you on the drums?
Yeah. He gave me 7 years of lessons, and I didn't even know who he was. I thought this guy was just a friend of my dad's that came over all the time. And every time he came over, he said to me, come on, kid, let's go out to the drums and I'll show you some stuff. And I was 5.
You just thought, who's this old guy?
So for 7 years. So when I got to be 12, I knew drummers at the time, the big band drummers, the good drummers. and I found out that he was Buddy Rich. I flipped. I did.
I know that
just,
guy.
I just flipped. But I still couldn't do the stuff he does.
Most people can't. Don't feel bad.
No,
Yeah.
no, they can't. They can't. But I'm so glad the Beatles came out. That made my mind up for me what I wanted to do.
So the Beatles were that pushed you forward.
That was it. I
Interesting.
heard that music and I went, that's it. And so I formed up the band from college classmates.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How did you just pick them at random, or you at least knew they could play?
Well, I asked who plays bass, who plays guitar.
Did you audition them, or you just took them at their word?
I took them at their word.
That's dangerous.
And then we had a lot of changes.
There's a handful of ex-playboys out there somewhere.
That's correct.
I'm going to go back to the very beginning and ask a
Sure.
question that's absolutely ridiculous. This is another thing that I read, and please tell me if I'm wrong. Your mom wanted to name you after Cary Grant. Is that true?
Yes, as a matter of fact, she did. For 2 years, I was Carrie Lewis. And my dad said one day, that's a stupid name. You got to change that. So they took me to court and changed my name to Gary. And I'm so glad.
Worked out in your favor at the end.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that. I remember it.
You remember it.
I remember it. I was 2, but I remember that.
You remember changing your name at 2. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anything I was doing at 2
Well,
years
that's
old.
why I remember so many words to songs.
That's valid. That's why you're the star and I'm not. 1965, you are nominated and, in fact, chosen by Cashbox Magazine as the male vocalist of the year. You beat out Sinatra, you beat out Elvis, you beat out all those nobodies.
I know. I was at that award ceremony, too. And I didn't know who was up for the award, I just knew I was. So they say, and the nominees are Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and I was getting up.
Yeah, leaving. Yeah.
I was leaving.
Why
and then
Why be embarrassed?
Then they actually called my name as the winner, and I just flipped out. I mean, it was like I was in space or something. It was really a strange
Surreal.
feeling to beat those guys out.
Yeah.
So I wonder who voted. 13-year-olds?
A lot of them. A lot of them. That's all that matters.
That was a high point. That was a high point in my life.
That had to have been a surreal moment.
It really
for
was.
a kid to get.
It was. I mean, when I was walking up to get the award, there were like circles in my eyes, and that total disbelief.
Sure.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great. I took it. I went home. Thank you.
How old were you? In 1965.
20.
You were 20 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Did you catch any flack from the big guys, the Elvises and Sinatras of the world?
No, I
or were
never
they
heard
supportive?
from them again.
They were done with you. We fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
You've already become a big musical star, and you get drafted.
Oh, yes. I got my draft notice, and the very first thing I said to myself was, Elvis did it, I'll do it. And that was it. I didn't ask my dad for any help or anything like that. I thought I should do it. And I did, and little did I know what a growing up period the Army is. I mean, because everything I had prior to that was all success and happiness and good things.
Stardom, yeah.
Well, the Army isn't that. It really isn't that. So, I grew up real quick, and I guess God meant that for me to grow up,
All right.
Go into the service and grow up.
That's a wonderful view of it.
Yeah.
Because We were chatting backstage before we came out, and you said you had the hair and the
Oh, I
beads.
did. It was
and
down to here.
You were full hippiedom at that
I
point.
was a hippie.
Before you got drafted. So that also contradicted a little bit of your positioning in life.
Well, it did. It did. But when I got out of the service, the music had changed so radically from my kind of music to Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, The Doors. And the 70s was very unkind to 60s artists. So what I had to do, and all the other 60s artists, if we wanted to stay in music, we had to play clubs and do 4 and 5 sets a night. And, sometimes you'd get polite applause. But that's all I knew, music. Yeah. So I did it. I did that for God, from 72 to 84. And then an agent called me in 84 and said, hey, the 60s is coming back. I said, who the hell is this? He said, no, really, I can book you. 60s is coming back. I said, if you can do it, I'll play it. And since 84, I've been working constantly all the time.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that it came back.
Yeah.
I love that it came back.
And we're very grateful to that, obviously. In the 70s, you have a connection with the Cowsills.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one Cowsill.
One Cowsill,
yeah,
specifically.
Yeah, the oldest Cowsill, Bill Cowsill.
Yeah.
He and I formed up a band.
Called Medicine, right? Was it Medicine? Is that right?
The band was called Medicine. Because if you come to see us, you'll feel good,
Take your medicine. I like that.
Take your medicine, yeah.
That's great.
So Bill Cowsill played guitar. I also played guitar. And we were trying to get backers, This was like 71. We tried to get backers and all that, but it just never turned out. It never turned out. So the band only lasted for about a year. And
but it's still there.
So it disbanded, and I also bought a music store in California, sold guitars and drums, and gave lessons on both. And I did that for a while too. Thank goodness the 60s came back. I had a real job. What is that?
As I was mentioning backstage, we have questions from the audience. So as we're chatting, I'll intersperse these. Lois comes to us from Wisconsin. She says, thank you so much for your service. Did you do any entertaining of the troops while you were serving?
They asked me to. They said, well, we'd like you to get a band together and travel the country and do USO shows, at different bases. And I said, please, no, just... I don't want to do that. I got to live with all these guys. I want no favoritism whatsoever. And so they put me in the supply room.
Which made you very popular, though.
I didn't want to draw attention to me for what I was, what I was doing. I just wanted to do my duty and do it, and get out.
But the guy in the supply room is pretty popular.
Oh, he is. The supply, I found that out too. That everybody's coming in saying, hey, you look great today. Can I have some new boots? Or new fatigues.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it was. And so I found out that it was a good idea to get to know the mess sergeant. In case you wanted a sandwich in the afternoon, that was a good thing. And you always had to know somebody in finance, because maybe they wouldn't write down when you took leave and you get paid for it later. And then if you know the transportation officer, you might get out of Korea early. So it was a learning experience, and it was great. I failed to mention to you that I went to military school. I went to military school since I was 5 years old, and I graduated after the 12th grade there.
Wow.
So I knew all
Yeah.
about the military, manual of arms,
Yeah.
how to march, and do that stuff. So when I got in the Army, I was doing all that stuff, and the sergeants were looking at me like, where did you learn this stuff? You're going to be a platoon leader. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, which made me exempt from KP.
Yeah. It's all about what gets you out of stuff or gets you the other stuff. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Rich from New Jersey says, A, where did you go to college? Did you go to college?
I did go to college. I went to a theater arts college, as a matter of fact, because I thought I was going to go into some form of show business. I had no idea what. But I knew I didn't want to do comedy because my dad did that.
Yeah.
You know, I want my own identity with what I do, you know? I don't want people sitting back saying, well, let's see if you're as good as he is.
Which
You
is
know,
brutal. When,
so-
when you have a father as famous as yours, too, as big a name, that's,
Right.
I mean, that's,
Right,
you're
right.
asking for trouble.
So I was doing Greek plays. That's how we got our grades. You did plays, and how good you did was your grades, you know, in all kinds of different areas. So I was doing things like Oedipus Rex, Othello, and all these Greek tragedies and stuff. It didn't turn out to be Greek tragedies with me up there.
Not so much. Yeah.
No, people saw me up there, they're cracking up already. I said, what? You know, but it was fun. It was fun. So thank goodness the Beatles came out, made up my mind what I wanted to do, and I did it.
Rich's second part of the question was, what was it like recording with the studio musicians, everyone known as, we just talked about this, everyone knows as the Wrecking Crew?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, myself and the Playboys, we played, the five of us played on the basic tracks. We recorded the basic music, and we were only 19 at the time, so we didn't know how to take those fancy solos or play fast or anything like that. So that's when they called certain people in from the Wrecking Crew, the studio musicians. You know, they put on the solos.
Yeah.
And Leon Russell was our arranger, and he played something on every one of our songs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's another. You got to love it when the legendary names are just casually dropped into. Leon Russell played a few hits for us. It was back. It's no big
Yeah.
deal. Steve comes to us from Washington, D.C. Thank you for your service, sir. Surgeon General Murphy thinks you are the greatest. When will you next be in D.C.?
Oh, geez. I mean, I want to go to D.C. I want to see everything that's there. I've never just gone there to like see the Vietnam Wall and the Smithsonian. Is that where the Smithsonian is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes
I
sense.
want to do that. I want to be a tourist and just check it out.
You've earned
Yeah.
it.
But we've played on the outskirts of Washington D.C. and Baltimore and around where Dulles Airport is. Yeah.
I love it. Forgive me, from Long Beach, California. Is it Brina or Brinna? Bryna. None of those. Bryna. Got. Is it this or this? Neither. Thank you, Bryna. I met your father in 2014 at a Turner Classic Film Festival ceremony. I have a few pics to show you when you have time.
Okay.
I don't know if they're of him or of her,
Anytime.
but she's got them.
I'll be walking the halls.
Aimlessly looking for your
Yeah.
room.
No, I'll be on the ship. I make myself very visible, you know. It's all part of giving back to you guys for buying our records.
That's the attitude. Kathy comes to us from New York. Labor Day weekends in my youth were spent watching you and your dad's MS telethons. What is your family's connection to MS?
My dad always said that when we find a cure for muscular dystrophy, I will tell everybody why I do this. So we never knew why he did that. So naturally, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I did not know, and he said he wasn't going to tell anybody. But then they fired him. You know, they said we got to get some new blood in here. Yeah, well, New Blood doesn't have the money to donate, you know. So they shot themselves in the foot, and you know the telethon is like nothing now.
Yeah, it's completely changed.
Yeah.
Gary comes to us from Chattanooga, and he knew a little bit about you before you even said it. You worked with Leon Russell. Do you have any cool or fun stories about working with Leon that you'd be willing to share?
Yes. Well, Leon Russell was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. He arranged all the songs. He decided what instruments were going to be on it, what little tricks he was going to put that would perk you up. He was very slow because growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he had polio. So he walked, he would drag one foot. So he'd be real slow, but it never affected his mind, you know. He was always brilliant. He would put certain things through different speakers that would sound different, and one time he said on our tune "Sure Gonna Miss Her," there's an intro of horns, and he said, I want to put some trumpets on the beginning that go da 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 da. Okay, he tried that. He says, no, I don't like that. He says, I want to put trombones on it and record it at 7.5 and then play it back at 15 and it'll sound like trumpets with a slide. Da, 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 da. You know, I mean, he'd come up with these
Tricks.
ideas nobody would think of.
Yeah.
You know, so as a result, my producer always knew how to pick hit songs and when to put them out, and Leon always knew the right arrangements. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was great. They were both great.
And we're grateful to them for bringing us you. Rick wants to know, what connection do you have with Al Cooper, who wrote The Diamond Ring?
Yeah. Al Cooper wrote this Diamond Ring, went to #1 in the country. You know, and as a matter of fact, on this Diamond Ring, I've gotten like 8 gold records on this Diamond Ring because it still keeps selling into the millions. You know, people love that song, you know. So 40 years go by, and I finally meet Al Cooper. You know, he was the founder of Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yes.
And then he went on to do other things. I don't really know what. I don't know what he did. But anyway, I met him after 40 years, and I said, I just want to thank you for this Diamond Ring. And he says, you did a great job. Thank you. And that was it. That was it. See ya.
Thank you, sir. On with my day.
Yeah.
Linda comes to us all the way from Australia. What did he like about being stationed in Korea while he was serving there?
What did I like
What
about it?
did you enjoy about Korea?
There were no bullets.
What? Well said.
Really? No. No, there was no active fire or anything like that. We did hear gunshots every now and then on the border. You know, they used to shoot across the border at each other, but it was nothing. It was like nothing. You know, and the base there was one of the most phenomenal, huge bases. They had everything there: restaurants, bowling alleys, theaters. It was just absolutely great. And it was just like doing your time. You have a job, and then you just do things at night, you know? I didn't want to go off the base.
Fair enough.
No, I don't know what's out there. So I just stayed at the PX or going into the clubs on the base, and that was good enough.
Fair enough. Marina and Kevin are from Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island. We come to see you whenever you come to Westbury. Do you remember a place you played at called St. James Infirmary? I saw you there almost 50 years ago. The waitresses dressed as nurses, the waiters dressed as doctors.
Yes.
The bathrooms made all kinds of noises when you flushed and closed the doors.
Oh my God. I do remember that. I don't remember playing there.
But being there.
I being there, yeah. I do remember that, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it.
Well, they were there.
I remember the nurse's uniform.
I'm sure you do. I have no doubt. Let's see. Ooh, Kevin comes to us from St. Charles. Would you mind telling us, you seem like a fun guy. Have you ever been a part of pranks? And what was the best prank you've ever been a part of?
The best pranks.
Are you a prankster? Were you around pranksters?
Well, the only pranksters were my dad's friends. They would pull stuff on me all the time, and I wouldn't get it. What? I didn't get it.
You also didn't know Buddy Rich was teaching you drums. So, I mean,
See?
in fairness.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, there were... I mean, you know, the comedians, when they get together, yes, there's a lot of pranks on each other. And if I happen to be in the room, yes, they'd get me too. You know.
Diane comes to us from Austin. Sorry to be personal, but how many children do you have, and are any of them musical?
Let me think. No.
She wrote that you know of, but I didn't want to include that part.
No, I know. I personally have just one daughter, but my wife has a huge family, and they don't call me stepdad or step-grandpa or anything like that. They just call me dad and grandpa, you know, and I like that.
I like it too.
I love them.
Debbie does not have a question. She says, please tell him he is a great musician, still looks and sounds great. Keep up whatever you're doing, and please don't retire for a long, long time.
Oh, I won't. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I love doing this. I absolutely love it.
And there's another one, not a question, just a comment. Just a very big, capitalized, all caps, big, thank you. Your record, Just My Style, was the reason we got together. This is from Sandy and Larry. I was in your father's fan club in the 50s and followed you in the 60s and since then. Again, a very special thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I met her.
Yeah.
I met her. Yeah. Thank you.
And Ellen is actually asking for a special request.
Okay.
Would it be possible to wish my cousin Toby and he's a Flower Power Cruise newbie. He's on board with us.
Okay.
Could you wish Toby a happy birthday? It's his 70th. Where's Toby? Toby, are you in the room?
Is Toby in here?
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Dear Toby.
Dear Toby, happy birthday to you. All right.
You had to wait 70 years, but Gary Lewis sang you happy birthday on stage.
Yeah.
You, with all of your career and all the things that you've done and all the places you've gone, what are some of your highlights? What are some of your favorite memories of your amazing career?
When I was promoting Everybody Loves a Clown, we went all over the world to do that. We did local TV shows in Asia, in Europe. My favorite places to be were the Scandinavian countries.
Yes.
Sweden, Finland, Norway.
So beautiful
The
up there.
food
Oh,
was so amazing there, and the fjords.
stunning.
You know,
Stunning.
just so stunning and beautiful, and the people were great. And most people over there, they all ride bicycles. They don't drive.
Everywhere. Yeah.
You know, so it's so quiet. I just loved it. I loved it over there.
Did you? Everybody loves loves a clown. Was that for your father?
Well, it started out to be for him. I was just going to write a little novelty tune, maybe a couple of verses, and just give it to him for his birthday. You know, but as it evolved, I started liking it a lot better. Yeah. Myself and Leon Russell wrote that one too. And it started sounding a lot better, especially with his input too. And so I kept the song, decided to put it out, and I gave my dad a real nice card.
A personal question. At what point did and forgive me, did your dad start to support your career and understand you were a musician? When did that kind of come around?
Well, he never liked rock and roll.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I know he wasn't a
Never,
big... Yeah.
never. You know, I mean, I kept having hit records, and he'd go, "Oh, that's nice." You know, I mean, he acknowledged it was good and all that, but he was into his own thing. He listened to big band music and everything. I did rock and roll, and he didn't really care for it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I don't care.
The good news is, as we mentioned at the beginning, your mom was there, and your mom was a phenomenal supporter.
She was the greatest. She was the greatest.
And
saint.
She supported you in that way all the way through. I mean, she had your back from start to finish.
All the time. Yeah. She would come to almost every gig in the beginning. She was terrific. Yeah.
And before we let you go, I got to ask, and I was asking you this backstage a little bit. You did our 50s cruise with us, and now you're here doing our 60s cruise with us.
Right.
Does the crowd differ between the two cruises in terms of you being on stage and playing for folks? You feel a little bit more comfortable with the 60s crowd, right?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, okay.
I do. Yeah. You know, I had a terrible dream one time. I dreamt that all my fans died. I really had that dream, and I woke up, I was sweating. Man. But anyway, to answer your question, yes, I like the 60s crowds much better because they're more informed about me. The 50s people, you know, they know me, but, you know, they're diehard doo-wop fans, you know. And, I mean, there are 50s people that like us, too. But I found that on the 50s cruise, the people were, how should I say, older.
Well, I would assume for the 50s crowd, you're your dad's son.
Exactly.
For the 60s crowd, you're you.
They wanted to talk about my dad more.
Yeah.
And tell me stories about how they met him.
Which makes sense.
Which is fine. I've come to terms with that. I mean, I'm always going to be his son. Yeah. So why not answer the questions? That's fine.
I truly appreciate you coming up and being with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody.